She sat alone in the quiet exam room, hands clenched in her lap, staring at the paper-covered bed like it might judge her. Her heart was racing, her throat dry. She had waited weeks for this appointment, yet now that the moment had arrived, she wished she could disappear. Some problems are painful, some are frightening, but some carry a weight far heavier than fear, the weight of shame, and for her, that weight felt unbearable. Before we continue with this story, take a moment to like this video, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. It truly helps our community grow here on Love and Kindness Stories, where we share real stories about kindness, courage, and the quiet moments that change lives. Her name was Emily Carter, and she was 27 years old. From the outside, her life looked steady. She worked as a graphic designer in a small Ohio town, paid her bills on time, and smiled politely when neighbors passed by. But inside, she had been struggling for months. It started with discomfort she tried to ignore. Then came pain she couldn't explain. There were days when she felt exhausted for no reason. Nights when she lay awake replaying every possible worst-case scenario in her mind. She searched symptoms online, then slammed her laptop shut, panic rising in her chest. The hardest part wasn't the pain itself. It was the fear of having to explain it out loud. Emily grew up in a family where certain topics were never discussed. You didn't talk about your body. You didn't ask uncomfortable questions. You pushed through, stayed quiet, and handled things on your own. So when her symptoms crossed into territory that felt deeply personal, she froze. She canceled her first appointment, then her second. Each time she told herself she'd try again next month. But one morning, when the pain made her double over in her kitchen, she realized she couldn't keep running. That's how she ended up sitting in that exam room, heart pounding, rehearsing sentences she wasn't sure she could say. A knock came at the door. "Emily," a voice asked gently. She looked up as the door opened and felt her stomach drop. The doctor couldn't have been more than a few years older than her, early 30s, maybe younger. He had kind eyes, neatly combed hair, and a calm presence that somehow made the room feel smaller. Great, she thought, just great. Her face burned with embarrassment. Of all the doctors she imagined, she never pictured someone her own age. She immediately assumed the worst, that he would judge her, rush her, or make her feel foolish for waiting so long. "I'm Dr. Ryan Miller," he said with a warm smile, extending his hand. "Thanks for coming in today." She shook his hand, barely meeting his eyes. They went through the basics. Height, weight, routine questions. Emily answered automatically, carefully avoiding the real reason she was there. Dr. Miller noticed her hesitation, but didn't push. When the moment came, the open pause, the invitation to explain why she'd booked the appointment, Emily's voice caught. "I'm not sure how to say this," she whispered. "That's okay," he replied calmly. "You can take your time." Silence filled the room. Emily stared at the floor, shame rising like a wave. Her chest tightened, and she felt tears threaten to spill. "I almost didn't come," she admitted. Dr. Miller nodded, not surprised. "A lot of people feel that way. You're not alone." Something in his tone, steady, patient, human, made her look up. He wasn't staring at a screen. He wasn't rushing her. He was listening. I feel stupid," she said softly, "like I should have come sooner." He leaned back slightly, giving her space. "There's no such thing as stupid when it comes to your health, and there's no timeline you have to meet. You came when you were ready." That sentence cracked something open inside her. Slowly, carefully, Emily began to explain. Her words came out tangled at first, stopping and starting. She expected awkwardness. She expected discomfort. What she didn't expect was kindness. Dr. Miller never flinched. He never rushed her. He asked questions gently, explaining why he asked them, making sure she understood every step. When she apologized for being embarrassed, he shook his head. "Your body is just a body," he said simply. "It's not something to be ashamed of." Those words settled deep in her chest. At one point, Emily laughed nervously and said, "I was scared you'd think I was weird for not coming sooner." Dr. Miller smiled, but there was something serious behind it. "I went into medicine because I saw how many people suffer in silence. If kindness can make it easier for someone to speak up, then I'm doing my job right." By the end of the appointment, Emily felt lighter, not because everything was suddenly fixed, but because she was no longer carrying the weight alone. As she left the office, she realized something important. The hardest part hadn't been the symptoms. It had been the fear of being seen and judged. And kindness had dissolved that fear in ways she never expected. Over the next few weeks, Emily followed the treatment plan Dr. Miller laid out. Her symptoms improved slowly, but steadily. More than that, her confidence grew. At her follow-up visit, she walked into the office with her shoulders back. When she saw Dr. Miller again, she smiled. "I wanted to thank you," she said. "For what?" he asked. "For making me feel human." He paused, clearly touched. "That means more than you know." That kindness didn't stop in the exam room. Emily started noticing how often she stayed silent in other parts of her life, at work, with friends, even with herself. She realized how much energy she spent hiding discomfort, pretending everything was fine. Inspired by her experience, she began speaking up in small ways. She asked for help when she needed it. She checked in on coworkers who seemed overwhelmed. She listened more carefully, without judgment. One evening, a friend admitted she'd been avoiding a doctor too. Emily didn't lecture her. She didn't push. She just said, "I get it. And when you're ready, you deserve someone who treats you with kindness." Months later, Emily ran into Dr. Miller at a local coffee shop. They exchanged polite smiles. Nothing dramatic, just two people crossing paths. But as Emily walked away, she felt something warm settle in her heart. She realized that kindness doesn't always look like grand gestures. Sometimes it's a calm voice, a patient pause, a reminder that you're not broken for being human. And sometimes, the smallest kindness offered at the moment you feel most exposed can change the way you see yourself forever. So if you're watching this and carrying something heavy in silence, let this be your reminder. You are not weak for needing help. You are not wrong for feeling embarrassed. And you are never alone, even when it feels that way. Kindness has a quiet power. It opens doors we thought were locked. It gives us permission to speak, to heal, to breathe again, and when we choose to offer that kindness to strangers, to friends, to ourselves, we become part of a chain that reaches further than we'll ever know. If this story moved you, share it with someone who might need it today. You never know whose silence your kindness might break.